Good guys are boring. Just look at Jack the Jobber, just look at his tiny child face, his distraught duckling expression of permanent misery like he's dropped his favourite massive lollipop on the floor and a tuck shop's closed. He's awful, why does he work here? I want him gone. Despite Jack being dreadful, people feel drawn to babyfaces. They're courageous heroes standing up for the whims and hopes of the people. In a previous video we looked at some of the best times when good guys went bad, but how about when villains see the light? I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com and here are the 10 best face turns in WWE history. Number 10, Daniel Bryan fools Bray Wyatt. This one ranks low on the list because the angle rushed to its climax quicker than your dad. Bray Wyatt had been trying to convert Daniel Bryan to join his trio of hairy chin boys for weeks because Bryan fitted the family entrance criteria of have beard and will travel. He finally succeeded in seducing him, and for a very brief time Bryan joined the Wyatt family and became a bad one. However, in one of the finest endings to Raw in recent memory, Bryan would betray Bray, revert back to his good guy status, and kick the beard off the Eater of Worlds head inside of a steel cage, all while the fans went absolutely mental. Seriously, there's never been a better yes chant. Number 9, Andre fires Heenan. Andre's heel turn featured on the last list, and now his face turn makes it onto this one, Sunrise, Sunset. Andre the Giant's journey to the dark side before WrestleMania 3 was hugely shocking because he'd been a babyface for so long, but the company stuck with the heel run for 3 years, allying him with Ted DiBiase, Bobby Heenan, and a bunch of other ne'er-do-wells. However, by the time WrestleMania 6 came around, WWF changed that. Andre was teaming with Haku as the villainous Colossal Connection with Heenan as their manager. His team lost at WrestleMania after Andre stood on the apron and barely wrestled at all during the match because of his failing health. Heenan got into it with Andre after the match and slapped him, which was not smart because Andre laid him and Haku both out to rapturous applause. In what would be his last WrestleMania, the Giant left as he had spent most of his career a beloved hero. Number 8, Luger slams Yokozuna. 1993 and Hulk Hogan was on his way out the company, famously refusing to job to Bret Hart as he did so. The champion at the time was a villainous Japanese Samoan, Yokozuna, and Vince desperately needed a new face of the company. Choose Bret, said half the locker room. Vince, however, bet his money on Lex Luger, who was a giant, muscly, blonde dude. Go figure. Problem was, Luger was heel at the time, fresh off his run as the Narcissist, so they needed to turn him face, and to be fair, the turn worked gangbusters. Yokozuna was holding a body slam challenge on a battleship on the 4th of July because Merker. Many men tried to slam him, but none could. Then a helicopter landed on the ship, and out came Luger dressed in red, white, and blue. Again, because Merker. Despite being a heel up until that point, when Luger slammed the big man, the crowd went ballistic and embraced their new hero. They would cool to him over time, but the initial turn was dynamite. Number 7, The Rock vs. The Corporation. The Rock has flip-flopped between face and heel a number of times over his storied career. He was famously pitched to the crowd originally as a white meat babyface who smiled and was just so gosh darn happy to be there, and the fans responded by telling him to go kill himself. Rocky Maivia then became The Rock, turned heel, and began issuing forth the egocentric catchphrase-suffused trash talk that made him a phenomenon. He briefly turned face in 1998, then switched back to a corporate heel for his first Mania main event with the Rattlesnake. Despite being a bad fella, the people were clearly taken with the charismatic asshole, and following a Mania rematch at Backlash, WWF pulled the trigger on a face turn. Shane and the Corporation got on The Rock's face for failing to regain the title, accusing him of caring too much about the people. The Rock then transitioned into a feud with newly healed Triple H, and the fans were given the green light to cheer him on with all their hearts, and boy did they. Number 6, Undertaker vs. Jake the Snake. The original spoopy dude of the WWF, The Undertaker debuted in 1990 and spent the first few years of his run as a fairly mute heel, letting his portly salacious crumb do all the talking and playing the mute, immovable monster for heroes to conquer. This would all change in 1992 when he became embroiled in a feud between the evil Jake the Snake Roberts and Randy Macho Man Savage. Jake was hiding backstage ready to strike Savage and Miss Elizabeth with a steel chair like a damnable fiend. However, the chair was taken from his hands by The Undertaker. When asked on a funeral parlor segment, which were camper than hell, just whose side he was on, Taker told Roberts, "Not yours," and the crowd cheered him loudly for the first time in his legendary career. Number 5, CM Punk's pipe bomb. Well now, this wasn't intended as a face turn, was it? When CM Punk took to the mic in 2011 to unleash years of pent-up venom on the WWE Universe, he railed against the crowd as much as anyone else. However, he was so charismatic and daring in his invective that fans took serious notice, and when Chicago gave him one of the most deafening and iconic shows of support in his title match against Cena, to the bafflement of Stuffed Shirts Cole and King, he was turned overwhelmingly face. The summer of Punk was a bit of a disappointment as a chiseled stallion once covered long ago, but as face turns go, it was one of the most electric in history. Number 4, thumbs down. As believable as it seems to fans these days, Batista was cheered once upon a time. The Animal, who first appeared as Deacon Batista, let no one ever forget, made a huge name for himself as the enforcer of Triple H-led stable of midlife crisis dads, Evolution. After winning the Royal Rumble 2005, Batista turned face for the first time against a man who'd taken him under his wing. In the lead up to the Rumble, Trips and Flair had started undermining Batista and he'd caught them doing it. Uh-oh, lads. See, in 2005 there were 2 World Championships in WWE and Batista was given the choice between going after JBL's WWE title for SmackDown or Triple H's World Heavyweight title for Raw. Batista seemed like he was going after JBL and gave Trips a thumbs up. Suddenly that became a thumbs down and he proceeded to ruin Triple H to a gigantic cheer from the crowd, and he would never be booed again. Ever. Number 3, Hulk Hogan WrestleMania 18. Hulk Hogan made a return to the WWF in 2002 as part of the villainous NWO, and it was clear from the off that the company was going to have a job on its hands to keep him heel. During the first promo he gave back at No Way Out, the crowd went nuts for the returning legend, and the ovation would only get louder at WrestleMania 18. Despite going up against a giant babyface in The Rock and also trying to murder him with a truck in the lead up to the match, the fans at the Skydome in Toronto lost their damn minds for the Hulkster, roaring with approval whenever he posed and booing the quote, people's champ. So thunderous was the reaction that the NWO turned on Hogan that very night, cementing him as a mega face on the grandest stage of them all. Number 2, Savage and Elizabeth reunite. Randy Savage had been lost in the wilderness for a while. He turned heel before WrestleMania 5, then shortly after replaced his beloved manager Miss Elizabeth with the wicked sensational Sherry. Over the next 2 years, Miss Elizabeth could only watch in horror as the Macho King and Queen Sherry ran roughshod. However, at WrestleMania 7, Macho Man lost a career-threatening match to the Ultimate Warrior and was forced to retire from active competition. Sherry then turned on the Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth rushed to his aid, and the two reunited as some fans literally wept with joy. The Macho Man became a mega babyface once again, and it's genuinely one of the most emotional moments in wrestling when I'm not crying. Shut up, shut up. Number 1, Austin at WrestleMania 13. Steve Austin went into this no DQ submission match at WrestleMania 13 as the cold, remorseless heel. Bret Hart went in as the veteran face. Both men would leave it utterly changed. It's one of the most iconic moments in wrestling and often credited as the true birth of Stone Cold Steve Austin, arguably the biggest superstar in wrestling history. For the slim few who don't know the story, Bret Hart locked Austin in the sharpshooter and rather than submit, Austin passed out from the pain. Hart then continued to attack the rattlesnake after the match. The fans turned on Bret for his craven actions and embraced Austin for his endurance. In terms of the WWF surviving the Monday Night Wars due in no small part to Austin's superstardom, it's probably the most important face turn of all time. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.